Yeah, my name's Martin Craigs. I'm the new CEO of Pata, based in Bangkok.
Great, and congratulations on your very new appointment. You were just appointed last week, I understand.
I started the role last Monday, which happened to be Halloween, 31st of October. It also happened to be rather tumultuous because of the flood situation in Bangkok. So I've seen that and lived through it in the past week. I would like to reassure the travel industry it's not as dire or dramatic as certain news agencies have painted it.
And how do you anticipate the flooding to affect traveller perceptions in the coming months? And
Clearly
what can
affected
do about it?
Perceptions really very severely. Even news media I was talking to here in London when I arrived yesterday thought the main international airport had been closed. It hasn't. There were photographs of the old airport in Don Muang with actually out of service aircraft surrounded in 6 inches of water. But as those pictures were circulated very fast, as we all know these days, it gave the perception that Bangkok was being closed down and the access was being sealed at the main airport. There were 900 flights per day as normal at Srivivapum, which is the main international airport.
So what is your message for travellers?
The message for travellers considering going to Bangkok or the greater Mekong Delta is don't punish the people of the region further by not giving them the chance of your good company and revenues, because when I left, still 80% of central Bangkok was unaffected by the floods. Therefore, nearly all the hotel destinations in Bangkok were available and accessible. Let's also remember Phuket and Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai have been unaffected by this terrible tragedy, which has affected people in the midland plains of Thailand and northern Bangkok. It shouldn't be underestimated. This is a serious and very deadly natural catastrophe, but it shouldn't be compounded by having rather extreme news reports putting off people in the medium to long term to take holidays there. Remember, Thailand depends on tourism to a higher degree than any other nation in Southeast Asia. Around 8.5% of the country's GDP is based on tourism. Japan, of course, as we know, had its terrible tragedy earlier this year, but on a tourist perspective, that is a much smaller percentage of the economy. So for the people watching your web and being here in London at WTM, the message is give Thailand the chance to prove what it's always been good at, and that is to be resilient and to bounce back.
So challenging times indeed, both from a flooding perspective and post-tsunami and earthquake, and also from an economic perspective. Is Asia rebounding economically?
I would say, with due respect to friends here in Europe, Asia's long-term economic problems are minor compared to Europe's, which is all the more reason why it's entirely illogical and counterintuitive for the British government to perpetuate what would frankly be best called a detention tax, trying to inhibit British people taking well-earned holidays in the sun, and at the same time, through APD, which, remember, the UK government will take about £3 billion from the travel industry per year. That tax is inhibiting people coming here to spend money and create jobs. I just simply don't understand how a tax invented by Gordon Brown has been so embraced by his supposed political counterparts. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense in Belfast, and George Osborne has done a U-turn sensibly. He now does not insist that Continental Airlines are taxed the full APD duty for flying daily to New York from Belfast. So if he's allowed that, the logic would seemingly be fair to apply to the rest of the UK. But I'd like to hear that explanation for that, on behalf of all our members across the travel chain.
So you've clearly got a lot on your agenda as a newly appointed CEO. What are your other priorities going forward for the next 12 months?
Well, the priorities, of course, are always to listen and learn from the members who have very widespread business interests. Remember, PATS is over 60 years old, so it has considerable institutional memory. It has very deep and long-standing friendships with all the tourist-related authorities throughout Asia, most particularly and interestingly in China and India, where I've been even before I started my job. I was appointed in Delhi in September. I actually happened to be in Beijing in October. So I've seen, if you like, at the heart of the tourism infrastructure, how vital those huge outbound markets will be to people offering tourist travel options inside Europe. And really, the message is, if you want some of that cake, then you need to adapt your product accordingly.
And hard to hear at World Travel Market this year. Is this an important exhibition for you? And can you talk about some of the events that you have going forward?
Sure, with pleasure. Yes, of course, we're appearing here, and it's great to see so many of our members exhibiting. I'm here with a small team from Bangkok and some local help from associates in Europe. We will have a series of events which are already advertised on our website. We'll have an extremely unusual and interesting adventure, holiday and eco-tourism conference in Bhutan in February, the first of its kind. In April we'll be having our AGM in Kuala Lumpur. In September we'll be in Manila. And in between we'll be at an awful lot of events with other travel and tourism organizations that we're aligned to, not least IATA, who of course are front and central to all of these issues, who will have their AGM in June in Beijing. Basically, PATA are having events every week of the year around their 40+ chapters. So our big events are of course open to any friends across the travel industry. My job is to join up the dots, to listen to the members, to present their case collectively, but particularly, as I said before, to stress the importance of travel and tourism as a job creator across all countries. I haven't mentioned the US of A, but it does seem simply remarkable to me that the visa situation in America is inhibiting them creating tens of thousands of jobs in America. There's various studies being done on this recently, and I even had the pleasure of talking to the new US ambassador to Beijing on this subject just a few weeks ago, who used to be the head of the Commerce Department. But it seems the Commerce Department cannot influence Homeland Security or immigration. But I would have thought in an election year, creating jobs should be front and center of any prioritization in terms of the US economy.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up there for now.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.